ahead.
Hi, Craig. Welcome to the Cubs. I just have questions about your coaching philosophy in regard to 3 issues. Number 1, playing young guys and prospects. Number 2, giving players rest during the season. And number 3, bunting.
I love this.
Well, so, playing young guys in the season, it's really like the best players play, right? That's who plays. The players that are going to help us win games. That's who gets to play. We're trying to win games. That's who plays. I think that's how it should be. And that's how, young players, at some points, what we have to do is that baseball has so many numbers, right? And there's a stat line, so the young player just doesn't have as many of those stat lines. And you have to take a leap that this translates to this is a good young player. And it's important that every team, have young players that are good players. So you want them to play, but you got to earn it. That's simple. Second question was, I've got bunting on my head already.
So just do bunting.
Bunting. Look, so you could, my record will show I do not like to bunt. That'll very clearly show that. However, bunting is like, what is the situation? Do I have a player who's good at it? Does the situation call for it? And then if it does, and it makes sense, we do it. In general, bunting is, the one thing that I always like to explain to fans is that bunting is much harder than people think. And it is not a guaranteed successful play as much as we'd like it to be. I think we love the word sacrifice. It's a great word, I'm sacrificing for the team. And it's true, you are sacrificing for the team, and we all want to sacrifice for the team. However, if the sacrifice isn't successful, it's not good for the team, right? And I think that's important. And so bunts, if I'm being analytical, the success rate on a sacrifice bunt is around 50%, 50 to 60%. So I've got to take that into consideration. As much as I want to practice, we can practice it all day, the success rate is still 50, 60%. And I have to kind of put that through my mental computer when I say, does it make sense if we do this? And if we fail at it, does this give us a chance this inning? So that's the nerdy way of explaining it. But there are players, I'm going to give you an example of a player like Pete Crow Armstrong. The bunt should be part of his game. He is a very fast runner. He's left-handed. It can be a real weapon for him to be an effective bunter. So there's players that absolutely the bunt makes sense, but using the right players to do it, I think is really important.
Is there going to be a Craig Counsell run expectation giveaway or something like that? With a chart? What do you have?
I think you sent it to me already.
I have sent it to you, actually. That's true. Over here, go ahead.
It's been really impressive to watch you build a bullpen for many years, even though it's been for the wrong side.
The wrong side. You build a bullpen, but you build it for the wrong side.
I'm just curious, how do players buy into your process during spring training when you assign them roles? Just want to know more about the process and what the players think.
So, I think bullpens in spring training, it's interesting. I will tell you that, I don't know what, by the end of spring training, we'll have probably 8 to 9 players in our bullpen. To tell you that I will have figured out their roles for the season, I will not. And I will, whatever I tell the media, the last week of spring training about the roles, I'll probably be wrong. I won't get it right. And that's kind of the nature of bullpens, is that, what I'm really hopeful of and excited about this group of players that'll be in the bullpen mix is that we've got a good number of players, and some of them will take I'm confident that there'll be some players that take steps forward this year. So as the players, it's most important for us to recognize as these players take steps forward and as they're having a healthy, good season, that we get them into like, you know, bigger roles or more leverage situations. And that's kind of how bullpens are really like a changing thing during a season.
Yeah, it's fluid.
Recognizing it's important.
Do you communicate roles to players, whether it's in the bullpen, starters, position players? How compelled do you feel the need to over-explain what's going to happen, what your thought process is? Does it depend on the player?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll communicate with the player, like, I don't know, on specifics, on roles. It's like, you know, you never want to say something and then change your mind 2 days later, right? So it's how you do that is important. But there's certainly, you know, we'll get to a point where the player knows that, you know, this is, if we're winning, if we're losing, he's probably not going to pitch. If he's winning, he's got a chance to pitch that day.
Over here, question over to my left, young fella. Yeah, there you go. Put the hat on back.
That was just this.
There we go.
He like got ready for battle.
Yes.
Who was your favorite team and player growing up?
Oh, this is gonna lead to booze.
Yeah.
Do you want to just get it out of the way?
Yeah,
Let's just get it out.
I mean, I would say my favorite player was a Brewer player. It was probably Robin Yount. Yeah.
He was a really good player. He was a really good player.
He was a really good player.
I mean, yeah.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. You know what? I'll take it too. My favorite player was Mike Schmidt. You can boo me on that. So, yeah, that's fine. Good enough.
Can I tell a story about a Cubs Hall of Famer real quick?
Let's go.
And not like a Rick Sutcliffe style Hall of Famer, like the real Hall of Fame.
That was a dig.
I'm sorry, Rick. I love you.
Yeah, he does.
I love you.
They go back. They go
Yeah,
back.
I love you, Rick. No, Rick and yeah. So Billy Williams, Billy Williams told me like a story that was so cool last night. I was injured when I was a player, and I got invited to the White House for a softball game with some kids. And I was fortunate enough to be able to take my dad. This was probably like 23 years ago. And I was fortunate enough to be able to take my dad to the White House and meet the president. And it was this wonderful day, like with these kids playing softball. And Billy Williams was there. Billy Williams was also invited to the event. And Billy Williams came up to me last night and he asked me how my dad was. And I was like, you remember that my dad was at that event? And I was just like, man.
That's awesome.
I mean, like, that says so much about Billy Williams.
That's really cool. All right, we'll go over here for a question. Go ahead.
Hi, Craig. Welcome to Chicago. I do have a question for you as a player. You had one of the most unique batting stances. How did you end up there?
Yeah, so I think we should acknowledge the story I told earlier about my 0 for 44.
Yeah.
Right? Another story. I was not a very good hitter, and I was at the time with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I was in spring training with them. I was on another 0 for streak, couldn't get any hits. I hit a line drive to left field in spring training. I was like, yes, first base hit. First base hit. Put my head down, start running to first. The crowd in Port St. Lucie goes crazy. They go absolutely crazy. I look up, and Garth Brooks had made a diving catch in left field to extend my 0 for streak. I was released the next day. I had a talk with myself and said, why can't you get any hits? And that led to me putting my hands way up in the air. So I like to blame Garth Brooks for a horrible batting stance. I like it.
you called me the next day and you said, Shambi, they fired me today after they released you. Yeah. I mean, that's, and I like the line that you said about the batting stance. You said you look back at it, it's sort of like a bad haircut. That's like
exactly
one of those.
right.
It's like one of those bowl cuts. You're like, man, what was I thinking?
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing, but it, it worked, and then when something works, you keep doing it.
Yep. Over here.
First off, I just want to say welcome to Chicago. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Now, we gotta go into trash talking. I don't know if you can see what my shirt says, but it says, no matter how bad my life gets, at least I'm not a White Sox fan. Do I need to change the White Sox to Brewers?
I like that. I like that right there.
Yeah.
What's the top part say?
No matter how bad my life gets.
Yeah. At least I'm not a White Sox fan.
Absolutely.
That's pretty solid.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What else you got?
What's next? Do I need to change it to the Brewers?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Brewers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Change it to the Brewers.
Just want to make sure you're the new man in charge. Gotta get you.
I got you.
Yes.
You have my permission. Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I love it. All right, we'll stay on this side. Next question. Go ahead. Right there.
Hi, yeah, also, thank you, welcome to Chicago. We're excited to have you here. I was curious, what is your lineup building philosophy? Like, do you ride the hot hitter up top, or how do you kind of build?
I love this question. Lineup.
Yeah. So, I mean, like probably general philosophy is just let the best hitters hit the most. That would be the general philosophy. And then I think, you have to sprinkle in, like, as we get later in the game, teams use bullpens and matchups become, like, trying not to make it too easy for another team's manager to put a reliever in the bullpen that kind of run through with matchups. So that means spacing some left-handers and right-handers out. But that would be like the simple way I look at it. And I think we in general probably get pretty caught up in lineups. It's probably more important like who plays than like what the actual lineup is. But lineups are fun, and they're a fun thing to talk about. They're a fun thing to look at, and I probably spend too much time looking at them. I probably spend too much time worrying about them, to be honest with you.
Have you written a lineup down or like messed around with it?
I was gonna, but then Jed Hoyer said it was the fourth inning, so I didn't have to.
Okay. Good enough. Hey,
no, but of course, yeah, you think about it for sure. I asked all the coaches to do it.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
And to give it to you?
Yeah, and I did that just as an exercise to kind of see what they were thinking, and it was interesting, and I wanted to get I wanted to like learn something like what do people within the organization think about players that maybe I haven't thought about.
Did you ask all of them, like, does Tommy Hotovy get a chance in the batting order?
No, he gave me the pitching
Okay.
lineups. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tommy Hotovy, what's it been like getting to know him? What's your impression been of Tommy?
Well, it's I think from our first conversation, I've been really excited. I've always been an admirer of Tommy from across the way for sure. There's I've not spoken a word with him really before a couple of months ago, but there's a presence about Tommy. This is going to sound weird, but just walking onto the field and just staring at him in the dugout. You know what's funny about coaches is that I've learned the Cubs coaches, we spend a lot of time just kind of looking at each other when you're a coach, like across the dugout. And it's like very non-verbal, and you're trying to figure out what everybody's doing, so like I felt like I had the Cubs coaches. They were all like analyzing me, like my movements in the dugout, and I do that with Tommy. But I do that with Tommy too, looking at Tommy and like, what is he thinking? And you always do that. That's part of it.
One of the things that I am about to put into your head that now you are never going to forget during the regular season, when Tommy Hotovy visits the mound, probably 80% of the time, because his last name is Hotovy. The organist plays hot stuff. So every time Tommy walks in the mound, they play hot stuff. I don't know what you guys
will not unhear that.
You'll never unhear that.
That's exactly right. But I do, and the Cubs organist is so good at that.
So good, yeah.
I will probably get. I can blame some bad moves on listening to the Cubs organist and trying to figure out the meaning, right?
Love where your head's at. Real quick before I go over to the right, when I was up here with Jed and Carter, a longtime Cubs fan, Marcia, had a question about why, when a pitcher is cruising, do you take him out of the game and then the bullpen comes in and it goes badly? And then we, of course, talked about the Matrix and maybe you'd add like a plus Marcia version to the Matrix just to consider, you know, we talk about third time through the order penalty, but then there's Marcia too. She doesn't like it. What's your thought on pitchers cruising? But there's Marcia. There she is. What's your take on pitchers, you know, 5 and go? I mean, it's something in today's world because of what you have in the bullpen and weaponizing the bullpen. But what's your perspective on starters and going deep and sometimes guys getting pulled out of games when they're pitching well?
Yeah, I think like every manager wants the starter to, I think, like you want them to pitch well as long as they can. It's helpful for the next game. It's helpful for the relievers to get a rest. Lots of decisions really are made on like, one of the things, the hard parts, even for me, is like, we're making a lot of decisions like based on trying to keep players healthy and productive for a full season. And we don't know if there's no data about this. It's hard to get like hard and fast like numbers behind that. So, you know, sometimes when we're taking a pitcher out, you know, I might not say it too, but it's just time for him to be done with the game. He's tired. We're not going to tell everybody that he was tired, but he's done. And it's also about him. He has to pitch in 4 more days and be good the next 4 days. And he also has to make 20 more starts for the season. And making sure that he can do that is more important than the next inning. Right? Like it is. Like we have to trust the reliever will get those 3 outs and that we've kept this guy healthy for the next 20 starts is going to lead to more Cubs wins.
The thing that's hard is that whether it's fans or media, there are changes that take place. And nobody announces officially that there's a change, but my point is people are going to sit there going, well, they used to pitch 280 innings. How come they don't pitch 280 innings anymore? And no one had a press conference to say, this is the better way to do it, etc. But it slowly shifts and changes, and so we're sitting there watching the way the game was played, and then all of a sudden, subtly, it gets tweaked, and you know what I mean? You don't know where the tipping point was, where they decided, okay, we're changing how this is going to be done because this will lead to more success.
Yeah, you're right. And the biggest change in the game that I think we can all like acknowledge is like pitchers throw like so much harder now, and that has, and we're asking pitchers to throw harder. Essentially, we're kind of demanding that they throw harder. There's a whole industry around pitchers throwing harder, and throwing harder means with more effort, and that effort does tire you out. It does make you more exposed to injury. That's a real thing about pitching today.
Yeah, so it's not about pace yourself. I mean, I've had managers say it, throw as hard as you can for as long as you can. And when you played, that was not what the marching orders were.
No, that was not. Certainly from a starting pitcher, that was not how a starting pitcher entered a game.
Okay. Let's go over here.
Hey, Craig. My name is TJ. It's great to see you here at Cubs Convention and as part of the Cubs organization. You've been a part of my baseball story for a long, long time, mimicking your stance and then going back to Counsell. And so it's great to see you here at Cubs Convention. And the young man over there had asked about your favorite player, and of course, growing up in Wisconsin and being a Brewer player and the manager, you're probably one of the all-time biggest Brewers fans of all time. What are you doing personally to convert to
You're gonna get a tattoo? What's going on?
It's a great question, TJ.
Yes.
You know, like, I will tell you, so that the best things for me to do that really is like days like today, and being with you all. That's a great way to do it. And then the other way that I've found, like, and I've said this a couple times, and I kind of still get like just walking into Wrigley Field, like it's just so cool. I mean, I can't. It gets. I thought it would wear off a little bit. Like I really did. I was like, I walked in the first time and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And then I walked in on Wednesday. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. So like that keeps happening, and it's not changing at all. And I don't think it's gonna change, because I mean this, and there's nobody there. You know, I mean, I'm like walking across the street. There's nobody here, and it's cool. Like, and that's what. The building, like any building, like where you can walk into and there's nobody there and you still feel the energy of it, like, man, that's like, can you imagine there's a lot of people here?
It's unique.
You all are there, that's...
Yeah. Let's go over here, question.
Hi Craig, my name is Ethan, and I wanted to know, what's your favorite movie?
I have no idea what the answer to this is. Like, all-time favorite movie?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have one. I mean, on a baseball movie, I would definitely go Sandlot.
What about Major League?
I like Major League.
Yeah.
They almost let me be in. I wanted to be in the movie Major League. That movie was actually filmed in Milwaukee. Or the first one was filmed in Milwaukee, and I was about 16. And I thought I wanted to be one of the players, and I went to the
audition,
casting or whatever.
Okay.
Like I played in these, like they call them like the beer leagues, you know, like with older guys, because they didn't have all the travel baseball stuff. So I was playing with older guys, and they told me like they were all going to the casting because they were like 25-year-olds that were decent baseball players. And then I went to it, and they're like, you look like you're 12, you can be the bat boy.
Ow!
So then I went home. Yeah.
So you declined?
I declined, yeah.
That's good. All right, next question. We'll stay on this side. Go ahead. Just get a microphone. All right, go ahead. What do you got?
Are you gonna sign Cody?
You need to join the media. That's a hard-hitting question.
Yeah, you do.
That's direct. That's how I like how you deliver the news. That's a direct question.
I was joking earlier that I wanted to FaceTime Scott Morris while Jen Carter were up on the stage. Just to, Scott, what's going on? What are your thoughts? What are you most excited about for spring training? Is there any one thing that you've thought about in terms of just getting going?
Yeah, I mean, the best part about spring is like, I always think, and I went to the Cubs complex, spent a week down in Mesa last week, or a couple weeks ago, and like, I love it when like we're practicing and there's fans like kind of on the fence, and it's what's so cool about spring, and if you haven't been to Mesa for spring training, come, because like it's intimate. It's the best way to describe it. Like you get up close with the players. There's tons of people wearing players wearing Cubs uniforms. You see them in a different setting. And the players, everybody is just a little like, their guard is down because it's just a little, the game doesn't matter, I guess is the best way to say it. We're getting ready for the season. And it creates to me like a great, just baseball nirvana almost. And I love that feeling of like, players practicing, like maybe some guys taking ground balls, and then fans watching them on the fence. It's just a cool thing. It makes you love baseball.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Thanks for doing this, and to see you out in May. Thanks, Greg. Let's send it over to Cole.